How are SOFC members experts more than you or anyone in this room is?
Right, sure, so I can answer that. So comparatively, right? So I sat on SOFC for 2.5 years now and probably have seen hundreds of budgets and therefore know sort of what some of the key benchmarks are for commonly asked for line items in a way that a lot of students at Duke wouldn't know just because they haven't seen hundreds of budgets before. So you can look to the fact that professors, as part of their job, they have to go around to universities around the country and present some of their research. So normally when they ask for an honorarium, it might actually only be in the hundreds of dollars. Take that, compare that with a private researcher or someone who isn't employed by a university. Normally the honorariums they ask for, some of the ones that some of the larger political groups on campus, for example, do, might cost tens of thousands of dollars. But if a student's just looking at a line item that says honorarium, a lot of people wouldn't know to ask, is it a professor that you're bringing, or is it a private research person who, does this for a living and therefore would request thousands of dollars from an honorarium? Knowing those kinds of things, I think, actually helps us contextualize whether or not that amount of money that individual is asking for is appropriate. So I think that's exactly
how.
The
same goes for like any number of things on campus. You know how much the different venues cost. You know how much it costs for the going rate for a DJ in Durham, things like this. And we've had groups come to us and say, when the going rate might be $300, they're asked $1,200 for a DJ. And SOC will sit there and kind of ask them, what's the rationale behind this? Is this a special DJ? And they might tell us that it's a special DJ who does the type of music that's relevant to their cultural group on campus. And those are the types of things that are all part of kind of the discussion of SOFC, and it's relevant. And so when you have people who look at hundreds and hundreds of budgets and these types of events, it's only possible to contextualize them and to make these relative judgments when you're going to have the type of people who can say, are we having, is this the type of thing that we want to fund and relative to what we funded before? And is that equitable, knowing that we funded a DJ for this group and we normally fund DJs across the board?
The experts at Duke that know the most about their groups are the members of the groups. It's that simple. There is no group that if you give them $300 would not be able to spend that $300 more in line with their own interests, knowing their own preferences, than 14 people that cannot see into their heads, cannot see what they want, and cannot see what their preferences are. The real experts here are the people that are making up the groups themselves. Now, if there are special circumstances, like some of the ones they pointed out, you've got to remember here, SOFC does serve a good purpose in funding large ticket events, and they'll still be able to do that. They're still likely going to have anywhere from $560,000 to $730,000 available to them. And I love to point out a hypocrisy here. If they're really experts in event funding, how can they make the argument that these events that everyone loves are actually going to go away?